Hey everyone, thank you so much for coming and joining us and watching this tribute film for Jessica and Lillia. We are super excited to present this to you. We really hope you just receive so much from watching this video. We just wanted to let you know just how much a blessing this project has been, even just to us. It came at the perfect time last year with the beginning of COVID, and that basically freed us up. Normally we wouldn't have been able to take on this kind of a project. But given the situation, we were able to do something different, and this was perfect. It's been such a big blessing for us, and because of that, we just wanted to say a huge thanks to the Risinger and Robinalt family, and it's just been so great to get to know them and be accepted and welcomed into their families, and really feel like we're a part of the family. So yeah, it's been awesome.
Yeah. So unfortunately, Tim and I didn't get to meet Jessica and Lillia, but hearing through all of you, the things that you had to say about them, the stories that you had to tell, and being able to go through old photos and videos, I just really feel like we got to know them super well through that. And the impact that they had is immeasurable. We interviewed 57 people, and all of them, the same thing was said by all of them, that they're a positive light, that they cared so much for people, and that they lived life so beautifully. And I think that in this film you're gonna see a lot of testimonies to that. I know that it's impacted us personally, just being able to hear about the way that they live their lives, and I know it's going to impact you too. And that's why we actually decided to title this film Living Lights, because consistently we heard from people that they were just lights in everybody's lives. And then also hearing everybody say the impact that they've had on their lives, they're living lights inside of everybody, each person who knew them. And even more than just the people who were interviewed in this film, I know that they impacted anybody who encountered them. We just are really excited for you to get to see this film, and hope that you enjoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Take you to a special girl.
Okay, special. Give Tommy a kiss. Say thank you, Tommy.
Thank you, Tommy. You're welcome.
Hey, Danny's turn.
The clock struck 2.
Yay, Mommy.
The mouse said boo.
Yay, Mommy.
I've never seen someone live life so beautiful.
I love you, Dad.
Oh, I love you too, honey.
The most considerate person I've ever met.
He had such an infectious personality, and something that was magnetic just drew people towards her.
Look.
Okay.
Okay.
She always knew when her friends needed her to be there for them.
She made everybody feel like they were the most special person in the world.
So cold.
She always told you how she felt about you. It made you feel so good and so loved by her.
Ew. What's in my seeds?
Maybe we can wash the seeds off and cook them and eat them for a snack.
What?
We can eat the seeds for a snack.
Yeah.
You know that? But we have to cook them first in the oven.
Oh.
She lived every day fully, and that's what creates an extraordinary life. And the small moments and the small gestures, the small acts of kindness are what create an extraordinary human.
Let's get out and play. Can you say morning?
Morning.
Say it again.
Morning.
Morning. I love you.
Lillia was just a perfect, she was perfect.
Just kind of just this great combo of the best parts of both of them.
Te. Se amo.
God has a plan, and there will
be light out of any darkness. Keep your chin up, keep working hard, keep staying fresh to death, and find comfort in the fact that you have people here that care about you and support you. And no matter what, keep smiling. You have a contagiously beautiful smile. I'm always here for you. Love, Jess. Pinky, Sparkle.
We've known the Risingers forever.
We have a group of high school friends that sort of stuck together, and we all got married within the same year. So there had been 6 boys born to all of us.
Yeah.
And we were like, are you kidding me? Somebody has got to break this. And Jessica was born.
Yeah, right.
We were like, thank you, God.
We were all kind of like, are you sure it's a girl? And then we were so thrilled to have the little girl.
You know, I was in my mind thinking like, oh yeah, we're gonna have another brother to play with. And it was a girl. And I think I quickly learned that was one less person that I had to share my toys with, so it ended up being better.
So I was very pleased to have a girl. Yes, I was very pleased, because 3 boys would have been way too many boys.
As soon as I got off of work, we went down to see her at the hospital. Tommy was so thrilled, I remember.
I can remember she was born in, because she was born in December, she was a little jaundice. And Tommy looked at her and said, oh, she looks like an Indian. I think she's going to be my little Indian princess.
I was super stoked to have a new sibling, and I was excited to share like everything I knew with her and introduce her to life and be a good brother.
Danny and Tommy came to visit her in the hospital shortly after that, and then they all cuddled up in the bed with me, so I had all 3 of them in the bed with me.
It was the beginning of Jessica.
Boy, she loves you, Tom.
Yeah, her smile at me. And I said, peekaboo, smile at me. When Jessica comes home, I think she's going to have a great time with her big brothers.
I think so. I grew up with Cam. We were from young age school friends, so have followed the family through the years and met Bob and just fell in love with both of them. And then the kids were just adorable, just have to be lovely coming from the 2 of them. Jessie, just a lovely smile, great personality, disposition.
Growing up with Jess, she was a very social person. She always had her friends around. Since day one, like Rebecca and Alexa.
So the way that we met was actually the first day of preschool, to be precise. I was pretty shy, and from the story that I've heard from my mom is that we were heading in, and I was really nervous, and I guess I didn't want to go without her. So she walked up to this other little girl, and she says, "Oh, hi, what's your name?" And it's Jess. And so she introduces me, and that little moment started a lifelong friendship.
One of my favorite pictures is outside of our school bus for kindergarten. Me and Alexa and Jessie have a cute picture that we are 5 years old in that picture together.
We spent so much time together, and we always wanted it to be more time. So we would always, at the end of every play date, ask our moms, can we have a sleepover? Can we please make it a sleepover? We just want to hang out more and everything. And sometimes they'd be like, oh, we got to talk, we got to see, or maybe not tonight, like it's just not the right night for it. And the 2 of us would grab hold of each other and hug as tight as we possibly could, and we would chant over and over again, "We stick together." We would absolutely sing, song, chant, "We stick together," until we convinced them that a sleepover was the best idea ever and that we should never be separated, and we just needed play dates all the time.
The 3 of them really have a special bond. You don't see that a lot when somebody has the same friends from preschool all the way up to their adult life.
So that was kind of our mantra, was "We stick together," and that's something we continued to say as we grow up, and that's how we signed cards and everything like that, and that's just kind of was our thing always, that we stuck together. And that's actually, I got a tattoo of that. So "We stick together," I got that afterwards to remember.
We moved here and I was 11, and I was so shy, but Jessie was the opposite. I mean, she was goofy and outgoing. She was an awesome friend, so being able to kind of latch onto her and meet people through her was so helpful. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't met her.
If you were any of her friends, I think you're a really lucky person, because she took care of them. She was there for them, and I admire that. And that's something that I kind of took from Jessie, is just how can I be a better friend? How can I choose my friends better?
It was so amazing to grow up with a sister like Jessie. I went to her for literally everything. We were pretty inseparable growing up. We'd have sleepovers in each other's rooms, and when we were sick, my mom wouldn't let us play together because she didn't want us to get the other one sick. And so our carpets in our bedrooms were different colors, so there was a line in the carpet in the doorway. And since we weren't allowed in each other's rooms, we would sit on the opposite sides of the line and we'd play Barbies outside each other's doorways when we weren't allowed to play with each other.
My husband, oh, I cannot find my husband anywhere.
Is this Miss Adams?
Yes.
Been a production by Jessica Reisinger and Katie Reisinger, also the Scarecrow. We would like to thank you. Oh yes, and have a nice day. Special effects also done by Jessica Reisinger. Look at my beautiful face.
The thing I just remember about her when she was a little girl was she just was so sweet. And what's kind of funny is people don't realize this about her, but she was actually kind of shy because she was so outgoing as an adult. But when she was a little girl, like, she was a little shy, and she went through this phase of singing opera.
I remember one time whenever I said, Jessica, what would you like to do when you grow up? And she was like 4, maybe 5, and she said, an opera singer. And I said, oh, well, she should have never said that, because everybody would tease her then. They would say, oh, you're going to be an opera singer. She said, no, I'm not. But she did say that, and I remember catching her one time when she was going, oh, you know.
She would go and stand in the corner and practice opera, and she would sing in this voice, and it was so adorable. And I think one time I just happened to kind of stumble upon it when she was down in the basement in their playroom playing. She was over in the corner just like singing her heart out.
So I'm a cubic, and I think the cubics have a very funny sense of humor. So my mom and dad were just hilarious people, and my mom's still around, but my dad was just a really colorful guy, and Pam got her sense of humor, I think, from my dad, and also she's a huge people person. I mean, everywhere my dad went, everyone knew him, and that came over to Pam. But I can see a lot of those qualities in Jess. I could always see them. Like, Jess was just so funny.
I tried to instill in Pam the qualities of life that were important, not like how much money you had, how smart you were, or anything, how popular. The most important thing was to be nice and be respectful for people and be treat people the way you want to be treated. And I tried to instill that in Pam, and I did, because she was a wonderful, wonderful mother. I love her dearly. Yeah, so she in turn instilled that in Jessica and in Katie.
Out of all of them, Jessie was probably the most like me. So we really got each other. And I love them all, and we all have our things that we connect with. But they used to joke with her and say, you know, I'm my mom and Jessie was me. So yeah, so we did connect on a lot of goofy stuff, a lot of spontaneous dancing, laughing at stuff that really wasn't even funny, but you know, always seeing life through rose-colored glasses.
I remember we were over at Aunt Pam's, her mom's house, and we were all there. And when she came in with Lillia, they came from the David's farm, their farm, and they brought this little duck with them, and Jessica named it Duckless, and she went around putting it on people's heads, and it was really funny.
I remember one family vacation where they did this really funny thing where Jessie sat on top of Katie, and it was Katie's legs and Jessie's arms, and I don't remember exactly how they did it, but it was just, they were cracking up. Tommy and I, as teenage older brothers, were looking at them like, what are you guys doing? My mom and dad were cracking up, and when I look back on that memory, it's just, it just kind of encapsulated Jessie. Like, she always wanted to make someone laugh.
It was so easy to be just your complete, authentic self around Jess, because that's what she was. So it was so inviting just to be silly and fun, love life and giggle.
Jess was never, and her and Tommy relate in this aspect. They're never embarrassed to do anything. Like, it doesn't matter, like, put on a clown costume, like, go run around. You know, my brother would talk to anyone that he met in a mall. Tommy and Jessie were very similar in that way.
So it didn't matter where Jess was, she was always able to have a great time and make fun of any situation. So one year we were at the beach with our families and just needed some time out from the sun. We went up to the hotel room, didn't really know what to do.
We were in one of these high-rise kind of things on the beach, and we were coming in from the beach one day, and the elevator doors open up, and here's Jessica, Katie, and another friend. Yeah, and they all had their hair stuffed piled high with fruit that they had stacked on their heads, and they were just spending all afternoon hitting the buttons and riding the elevators up and down and greeting people, asking if they wanted a piece of fruit.
We rode the elevator for hours and then went down to the parents at the pool having lunch and drinking some drinks, and we were laughing so hard that we couldn't even get out what we had done for an entire hour.
This is what they did.
And she was so tall with that on that she looked like the Tropicana lady, that old commercial. And so, yeah, and she'd say, would you like a banana, sir?
Yeah, just terrific, just terrific.
Yeah, just making us laugh.
Yeah.
Between vacations and Christmas parties at the Crows, the girls our daughters got to know each other. Jess, Katie, Kendall, and Caitlin Jastrom and Aislinn.
Jess, Katie, Caitlin, and I were always the four girls that were hanging out when all of our dads and moms were together. And it started off as a joke, but we always said we were friends forced by fathers. But really, we were all such great friends, and we knew we were best friends. And so we would just say to the parents, "Oh, you forced us, friends forced by fathers."
And we were just like shocked when we heard it, but laughed hysterically. I'm sure Jess had a lot to do with that. I bet she was the ringleader, and you know, they were good friends, I think, on their own. But the fact that they came up with that term was pretty funny.
Jess and those girls are some of my best friends, and we always had such a great time, even if it was a year since we had seen each other.
She was always dancing, always, all the time, just around the kitchen, the living room. She'd get out of the shower with her robe on, be dancing.
My Jess loved to
Oh, yeah.
Like, she would dance all the time.
You'd walk in and she'd be like, yeah, let's go, I love this song. And I'm just like,
straight to the dance floor.
And everyone else needed a little liquid courage. They're like, can we go there last?
Right.
And she's like, go first, let's go.
Right.
She hopped on the stage and danced with the band, unabashedly.
She actually used to have this, it was a little red boom box that was like waterproof, so we could take it to the bathtub with us when we were little. And then when we got earlier, like preteens, we would have the red boom box and we'd put on Britney Spears. We were probably way too young to be listening to it, but we didn't, you know, it went right over our heads, and we would just dance around her bedroom to Britney Spears and pretend we were all promiscuous and all that. It was pretty funny.
She was someone you just wanted to be around. And I never really worried about my kids too much when they were with Jess, because I knew Jess made good decisions.
When they weren't with
Not
Jess?
saying my kids didn't, but. I'm sure she made
Jess is laughing right now because little do they know. Jess and I would.
She understood the big picture for a young kid.
She still liked to have fun. Yeah,
she really understood it and could see beyond the normal teenage thinking. She put everything in the right perspective, I think.
Yeah.
She just always made other people feel comfortable and welcomed and happy and just inclusive of everybody. Like, no matter who the person was, she was always, you know, willing to like open her heart and hand to people and just be welcoming and kind.
She always looked out for the underdog. She never had anything bad to say about anyone. You know, the kids that were picked on at school, she always included them in things so that at least they had someone to look out for them.
So it was kind of a tradition for like the juniors and seniors to do a scavenger hunt at Blossom, and normally somebody would make up this scavenger hunt list of like all these things you have to do, you know, kind of like dares. For some reason I remember it being a thing that kind of only like a select group of girls were invited to do. Jess kind of looked at that and said like, this would be really fun, but why would we exclude anybody from this? So she came up with a list of her own stuff. You had to like lick a stranger's elbow, which like in hindsight is like, why were we doing that? Get up and dance on a table publicly. Just like silly, embarrassing things that like high schoolers, you know, don't want to do, but we had to, you know, get pictures of it. And like, we just had so much fun running around and like goofing off and embarrassing ourselves, and truly got so many other girls in our grade to do it too. And I just remember so many girls thanked Jess for that and said like, this was really fun. Thank you for making this something that like everyone can do.
Jess made everybody feel welcome all the time, and it didn't matter who you were or who you hung out with most of the time. If you were with Jess, she just brought everybody together.
She was really passionate about making it an equal opportunity for everyone, which I think is kind of how she was in general. Just like always wanted to reach out to people who maybe felt excluded or, you know, didn't have a friend to talk to or a table to sit at. That was always Jess.
She naturally just accepted everyone and loved everyone the way they were. And I think that rubbed off on me of like, you know what, especially after she passed, that was like something I wanted to carry on, is it doesn't matter what other friends people have or what they look like, what, you know, religion they are, what color their skin is. It's just like who they are as a person. And she just loved them exactly as they were and accepted everyone as a friend. And I saw that in middle school and high school, out, like in college, out of college. She was like that her entire life.
I'm Adrienne Leotis. I knew Jessie from the time that she was 16. She started babysitting for us. Miss Pam was my kid's preschool teacher. And if you're super lucky, you get to have your babysitter be the daughter of a preschool teacher, because then they're pretty awesome people from the get-go.
We met her nearly almost immediately after we moved here about 11 years ago. And I was there in the garage trying to put things away, and she introduced herself. And I'm like, wow. You know, that's an amazing young lady. And then we just we were talking, and my wife obviously asked so many more questions, and of her mom too, and also asked on whether or not she'd be willing to maybe watch the kids for an hour or two as my wife and I would break out every now and then. And she said yes, which is a pretty brave thing to do for 5 kids.
We would play board games with her, and she was super nice and caring with us. So.
And I remember she was just always so happy doing everything, and she made everything into a game.
Yeah.
So we loved having her come over. She was our favorite babysitter.
Always somehow connecting at every single level despite the age differences in the kids.
She kind of made me want to like be a better person. She's like so nice towards kids. She's someone to look up to. She just loved being around children, and we sort of wanted to be like that, to be like her.
I just remember one time when Mark asked her in the car, you know, what do you want to do when you grow up, Jess? And she went on and on about how she wanted to write children's books. How much she loved children, and she wanted to write children's books and make a difference in their life and teach them all the things that her great parents had taught her. And we were just really like, wow, that's amazing that a 7th grade or 8th grade or whatever she was at the time thinks enough about her upbringing and wants to pass it on to other kids.
First time we have a good she ever babysat us, I got my foot stuck in the chair, and like this chair we had in our kitchen, and I was like crying, and she had to figure out how to get my foot out of the chair, and like it took a very long time because I was so stressed and I was like moving around, and I was crying and screaming, but she ended up figuring out how to get my foot out.
And when I came home, she was like, oh my God. She was like, her foot got stuck in the chair. And I didn't think you were ever going to let me babysit for you guys again.
She babysat for us.
Yes, a lot, for years. After a couple years, I think she was probably a senior, but I went back to work and she nannied for us in the summer and just made that transition so easy. She would come in every day with a craft in her hand and a plan, and she'd be like, okay, see ya, and they would just whatever, she'd send me pictures all day long of what they were doing, and it was everything from a craft to watching movies to I think it was like singing thing you used to do downstairs.
Had to do the voice.
The voice.
We'd do the voice.
Yeah. And I was just starting to play volleyball, and she taught me to play volleyball for a while and play in the yard. And she was always so outgoing and happy about everything, and I really wanted to be like that. Yeah, and she was super kind too, so we always just sort of looked up to her.
I thought she was like the coolest person ever. Like, I don't know, I was like 8 and she was like all like grown up and pretty and like so like responsible, and like my mom loved her, so I like loved my mom, so I was like, oh, my mom likes her, oh my gosh. I wanted to be her. Like, she was like, now that I'm babysitting, like I try to like channel her like through me almost. Like
when they started babysitting, I'd say just go and do whatever Jessie would have done. Just think of that, just whatever she would have done, just make, do that whenever something comes up.
Yeah. One of my favorite memories with Jess was I told her, this was probably 7th or 8th grade, that I've never like gone sledding. She like freaked out and immediately was like, no, we have to go sledding at my house. And so our mutual friend and Jess and I, all 3 of us, went sledding in front of her house, and it was just so fun. It just kind of shows that Jess was the type of person that just wanted to make sure everyone was, experiencing life and having great memories, great fun.
Jessie's Girl Scout troop was really one of a kind of troop. The girls were just all from different avenues as far as their friendships, their interests, but when we came together, we were really together and very inclusive and very strong friendships. To the day Jessie passed away, were formed through that.
Jess's mom, Pam, she was our troop leader, and she got us involved from the time that we were very little. And it was just such a great group of girls that were thrown together.
Camping trips were always a blast. I mean, we had so many sleepovers. One of my favorites was when we went to Canada, and we did the whole wet jet and Maid of the Mist.
We honestly got to do a lot of really cool things through Girl Scouts. I think that was a big thing that we connected over, was wanting to do stuff like ziplining and camping and whitewater rafting. And I think the fact that a core group of us stayed together through high school, that's not super common for, when you get older. Like, most girls drop out of Girl Scouts. But I think that just the fact that we were genuinely friends was really helpful in keeping us all together.
Jessie got her gold award her senior year of high school, which none of the rest of us did. She, took the time and put that effort in to do it.
Jessie was very adamant about doing something outdoors that children could be outdoors and really learn a lot, and just enjoy the sounds and the senses of being outside.
That year, she decided at her mom's preschool to make
a nature trail for kids, the preschoolers, to be able to go through, and everything, was hands-on and just within nature, which is just part of her personality too, just always being in nature and just being messy and letting kids discover things on their own.
This at one time was all these wild bushes and briars.
They used it, but then I definitely think it got overgrown as the years went on. So after she passed, the Girl Scouts, we kind of got back together and we were texting and like, what can we do? We all lived in different parts of Ohio, parts of the country, and if we were all home, we got together and we worked on that, and we kind of built it back up. So we donated money ourselves, we got like our parents to help out, and we got a trellis, just a walkway that has Jess in memory of Jess and Lillia on it.
And to this day, this path's still used. It's probably used at least 2-3 times a week by the preschoolers that are here, from 2-year-olds to 6-year-olds, and they absolutely love it.
I definitely stop there every once in a while on my way home, just because it's like that peaceful place that now totally reminds me of Jess. So it was cool that the same people that helped her do it originally, we so easily, everyone dropped what they were doing and made time to get there to help, recreate it.
It's funny too, because as days go on, sometimes people will leave stuff and I don't even really know they were here, but they leave plants, they leave silk flowers, they leave the wind chimes, so there's lots of things that get added that I always wonder, was who's here thinking about them. But it's also a constant reminder that people are always thinking of them and appreciate what Jess did.
I know that Jessie was involved in so much. I mean, she was involved in school, she was involved in everything at home. She was involved with her church, she loved her church. There wasn't anything that Jessie didn't do. She just brought such love and light into everything she did.
So this is one of her art pieces. Jessie really enjoyed her art classes, and this was one of the pieces she did in art class, and it's just how her faith has impacted her. She went on a trip called Mission Possible, and through that she went down to the Dominican Republic and helped the children there, helped the families. And Jess wasn't afraid of a hard day's work either. I mean, if you go back and look at pictures, they'll see, she's wheelbarrowing a whole wheelbarrow of stones and concrete, and she would go and bleach down the houses. She ran some of the electric. She worked with the concrete. But this is one of the little girls that touched Jessie when she was there, and they sent notes back and forth. When Jessie left, they said, while she was there, they would write each other notes, and that was one of the things that she did several years, and we were very proud of her for doing that.
One of my first memories with Jess was on the flight from Dubai to Uganda, our last leg of our journey. We actually watched Tarzan together and sang along to it and everything. And we actually roomed together when we were in Queen Elizabeth National Park, and there was a spider on the ceiling and it freaked us out, so we were taking our shoes and throwing it up and trying to smash it, but it was still there. So we went out and we got ready for bed. We came back in and the spider was gone, so it really freaked us out. And that night we hardly got sleep, but it honestly was one of the best nights on that trip, because it was such a bonding experience for both of us. We just stayed up for hours talking.
Even when she went to Uganda, she told me that they were staying in this hotel, and Africa, there's a whole different animal out there, bugs and all. It's all different. It's all bigger and scarier. So, yeah, she was bold for going out there. But anyway, she told me that they were staying in this hotel, which was obviously, for Uganda was still kind of it needed some improvement, so there was some cracks and holes in the wall or whatnot. And she said these bugs were coming in through. So She told all the girls, she said, all right, ladies, I literally, word for word, all right, ladies, hand them over. I need your tampons. So they started putting tampons in all the holes to keep the bugs away and putting their clothes at the bottom of the door, you know. And I could just see, I can just imagine the bug that did it. And she was like, enough is enough.
What was really amazing when we saw her pictures from the week, I think she was like a magnet to the children of the village.
You know, you could tell when she's holding these babies, you know, these Dominican babies, you know, how much love that she was radiating. You know, she wasn't just there because her parents signed her up to go on a missionary trip. You know, she was there because she felt like she could make a difference, have an impact.
She was just very, very kind, had such a big heart, and one of the days on the trip, she actually gathered a bunch of feminine hygiene products for the women in the town, and she just took that upon herself to do that.
She also told me about how incredibly grateful these people in Uganda were for the most basic things, you know. I feel like she shared that quality with them. Jessie did not need much. She never needed much. I mean, as long as I brought love and support to the table and provided with whatever I could, that was enough.
We had the trip of our lives when Jessie's senior year. We went over to Europe. One of the places we went was Venice, and we were in a gondola, and you know, everybody was talking and just enjoying their time when Jessie stood up in this crowd and on the gondolas, all the gondolas are there, and she starts singing, "When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore." And everybody started singing, and it was like, yeah, there's our Jess spontaneous again. But that was really one of the things that just, it cracked me up, because it was something she did so comfortably here, but to see her do it in the middle of Venice with all these other gondolas going around us was really true to her character. So, you know, bringing everybody in to have fun. Jessie was always very athletic. She wasn't necessarily the best on the team because her heart was too big. She never wanted to bump anybody out of a position. She never, you know, if it meant keeping a friendship over a position, she would keep the friendship. But she did love volleyball, and she played it very well with her heart. And her height had a lot, you know, that kind of gave her that advantage. So as she was looking at colleges, she had a couple of choices. She could go to some of the smaller colleges and maybe play volleyball there, or the other option was Kent State. And she knew she wouldn't make the Kent State team, but she thought she would try out for the club team, which she did, and has made wonderful friendships through that.
We were both trying out for middles, and there was like 13 different girls trying out for middles, and we you know, both looked at each other like, oh crap, what are the chances that we actually make this team? And Jess was just so kind and so sweet, and I was just like so small, and I just, you know, was worried. I'm like, I'm the shortest one here, there's no way I'm gonna make it. And Jess was just like, this isn't gonna happen. And then we both found out 2 days later that we did, and we were freaking out, and it kind of just like bonding over the fact that we had zero intention of actually making the team kind of just brought us together instantly.
So I was already on the team, and I remember her coming to practice, and the girl who was in charge of club volleyball and ran it kind of was the one who created the drills and put us in different teams to play each other. And I just remember Jess was wearing a pink headband, and the girl in charge was like, "Pinky, you're on that team," because she didn't know her name. And so ever since then, I always called her Pinky.
But then we'd also have like parties like with our volleyball friends too. Mm-hmm. And I remember the first time we went out to Olivia's house.
The hillbilly party.
Yeah. Like you're just supposed to wear like your country, like cowboy, like, you know, stuff like that, which Jess, of course, had her cowboy boots at college.
Six flannels.
Six flannels.
Like, you need one? You need to borrow
She
one?
had her cowboy hat. I remember walking up to the bus stop and seeing her, and I was just like, I don't have any of this stuff. But like, she was full out, like had all of her outfits, and like.
You were happy because you found a pair of ripped jeans.
Yeah.
You like nailed it.
And like
she
a
just
belt.
Came out in her whole getup.
Yeah. But I knew like that night I was like, we're gonna be friends.
She's fun.
That's funny.
Jessie always knew she wanted to be a mom, and she always knew she wanted to be a wife. So when she was looking at majors, I taught her about that. I said, think about something that you can use throughout your lifetime. Like, what would you like to do that might benefit your family? And nutrition was the perfect fit.
As I, started knowing Jess more, and she was in the nutrition program, I was like, you know what? Like, I'm gonna give that a shot. Like, I get to hang out with her more, and it just seems something like health and wellness has always been like a priority in my life too. So I switched actually over to dietetics with her, and so we started taking classes every day together. So we would walk to class together. I mean, we were together all the time. But she's the main reason why I did that and why I'm a dietitian today.
And then that's how Maddie and Jess started that Charge Club, and it was a very empowerment club for women, both for their physical well-being and their mental well-being.
So I was just really proud of her for finding some kind of leadership role, something she's passionate about, and becoming the leader on campus that she was.
I think we had 250 members our first semester when we first started. And so just trying to, and she was much better at it than me, getting to know all the girls and, trying to build relationships with everybody, because, I mean, we would have, every Monday night we would have our classes, our large group classes. And so we would have 75 girls at each session. And it was a challenge to get to know everybody. And, they all know you because Jess and I spoke at every class and just like welcomed everybody. But she just had she could just do that so well, like go up to people and just talk to them and get to know them and make them feel so welcome.
2015 was a really difficult year for my family. We had just lost my older brother.
When I met Jessie, at that time, of course, it was a tough time, but I don't want to say that I forgot, but she filled my heart, and I had never felt that feeling before. Of course I was thinking about my brother, of course I was, but I just realized that when I met her, it was as if God told me, you need to focus your life, and you need to focus your life on her.
I had a voicemail from him, I think, like from that night, and just saying, I was like, hey man, I met this girl, she's absolutely amazing. I have a really good feeling about this. And I woke up, and I'm not usually the best morning person. I woke up and heard that, I was like, all right, that's awesome. I hadn't heard him be that excited or optimistic about anything.
You just said that there's something about her, her smile, her laugh, everything about her. And the first time I saw a picture of them was at Thanksgiving, and just a smile that David had, was like something he never had before.
It was in June or May of 2016, 15, yeah. And he said, Mom, I met this girl and she's really beautiful. And I was like, hey, can I see the picture? Is there any way that you can show me what she looks like? And he got her Facebook, and he started showing me the pictures. And of course, she's just so beautiful. And I'm saying, her? He said, yeah.
She was always prepared to go out, not even like just dress, but just like we would be going out one night and she'd be like, okay, we all need new names.
Yeah.
And she'd give everyone like a secret name that wasn't your real name.
Yeah, that's the night we met David, actually. So it was Jess, me, you, and then Alexa.
Yeah, and Ashley.
And my friend Ashley. Mm-hmm. But Alexa, one of Jess's other best friends from childhood.
I had gone to Kent to visit Jess, and we were just planning a girls' night out, drinking and bar hopping.
You Daisy?
I was Daisy because I had sunflower shorts on, like black shorts with sunflowers,
Yeah.
and she said, "You're Daisy."
And then,
yeah, right.
And then my friend Ashley was Nikki, and Jess was Vicky. And so they were bouncing off of each other all night. Like, I'm Vicky, I'm Nikki. I'm Nikki, I'm Nikki, like all night long.
And mine was Amber. And we just kind of, as you do in college, went out for a fun night, and we're out and going around, and then I believe we stopped at the pizza shop. I don't know if we stopped there early, but I know that we ran into David and some of his friends.
So I went to see a friend of mine, and we were actually going to stay at their house, and then last minute we're like, forget it, let's go downtown.
So it was strictly a girls' night, and we went out, and I was like, nope, like just girls, like we're not talking to guys tonight. And we met David and his group of friends at, where was it?
Zephyr.
The
bottom of Zephyr.
First, yeah, right? First.
I just remember, if I could describe it correctly, you know, because they're all beautiful people, beautiful young women, you know, but for me it's like if it was a bouquet of flowers. They were all pretty, but it was the prettiest flower in that bouquet, and it wasn't because of my attraction to her, but it was just she just radiated grace. Believe it or not, my wife rejected my first dance, and I did not understand because I thought everything was perfect. I'm like, things are going great for sure. I'm gonna get her number. We're gonna go on a date. It's gonna be perfect. We've been hanging out for a couple hours. The music's good. You know, her and her friends are kind of dancing, and I'm like, well, we just talked for 2 hours. Should I start dancing too? I mean, what do I? Okay. So I start kind of, you know, scooting along and trying to break a move, and then she was so sweet. This is where I really fell in love with her. She said, I would love to dance with you, but my brother's fraternity, Little, is over there, and I really don't want this to, you know, I don't want to be seen dancing with a boy, and this getting back to my brother. And I'm like, okay, doesn't seem like an excuse. That seems like a very legitimate response. So I kind of like backtracked to the bar area, you know, kind of like backwards danced, and I honestly, I thought it was over. I'm like, wow, you really screwed this up, man. And that was our first dance was solid rejection, and it was perfect. It made me want more. I'm like, oh my gosh, well, did I do anything wrong? But she was sweet about it, you know. I was confused. I was sincerely confused, and it really bugged me for a second. And then she was so sweet. She kind of picked up on that. And she, you know, she gave me her number, and immediately I'm like, if you're playing mind games with me right now, Jesse, then it's working, because I don't know what's happening here. We went from, we can't dance, to now I'm getting your number. Okay, this is great. All right, sure, yes, thank you. I mean, I pretty much locked it up like it was Fort Knox, you know, just in case I don't lose it. You know, I even texted it to my friend. I'm like, hey man, please send me this number later, because if I lose this, I'll hate myself forever.
Jesse came home and she was like, oh, we had so much fun and we were dancing, and I met this guy, and you know, and it was late at night. There wasn't much more conversation. In fact, it might have even been the next day, but as the days went on, she was talking more and more about this guy. So we have a rule at the lake house at that time in the summer that cell phones have to be checked at the door. That was kind of my thing. Like, we're here, we're doing this as a family. And I can remember Jesse begging me to, Mom, please, like, he might be leaving to go out to Seattle and it's his birthday and I need to go ahead and use your phone.
I remember she texted me and she was like, I can't really use my phone. We all have to be outside together, but you know, happy birthday, and you know, enjoy yourself out there with the airplanes, and you know, I can't wait to see you. And that's when, I mean, my heart went boom, you know. I was ready to leave Seattle at that moment. I'm like, okay, seen it, I'm ready to go back to Cleveland. And I never thought I was actually going to come back to Cleveland. I had a job opportunity at Boeing Field, and I was like, heck with that. I'm gonna make ends meet in Cleveland, you know. I got the love of my life waiting for me over there.
She was my little sister, so any guy she kind of introduced me to, I kind of had a little guard up try to play tough or something. I don't know what you want to call it, but David was great, you know, super genuine, happy guy. I could tell he cared a lot about Jess.
Then we realized that she really likes this guy, and you know, maybe we should meet him. So they arranged for us to meet down in Kent one day. We had dinner together, and David just was a nervous wreck. He was as sweet as could be, you know. He's very, very well versed and can carry on a conversation with anybody, but he was talking a mile a minute, you know. And I can remember Bob and I got into the car that night, and I was like, he really likes her, and that poor kid was a nervous wreck.
Oh boy, yeah, I was so scared. I was so scared. And at that time, I was older than Jesse, 3 years older. And it's like, I knew that if her parents don't like me, this is over, and that thought really broke my heart initially, you know. So I put a lot of weight on that. I put a lot of stress on that first meet, because Pam was gonna meet me one way or another that week. Like, there wasn't next week, next month. She was like, okay, you guys have been dating long enough. Bring me that boy. I need to see what's going on here.
When we met Jess and David for dinner in Kent, as you would expect, David was pretty nervous. But what I remember most was very polite, very considerate, very respectful. And I could see then that he was brought up right. And I had a good feeling that he was going to be good for Jesse.
He really is very respectful, very polite, you know, pulls the chair out for you, always will bring you something, you know, be it a butternut squash or a bouquet of flowers, you know, he's always bringing you, you know, something as he comes to visit you, along with his big bear hugs. So very quickly found ourselves falling in love with him as quickly as she did.
It takes some time with me to, I guess, gain my trust and everything like that, but I've spent a few nights with them, and I could tell like his intentions were in the right place, and I was happy to have him a part of our team. He's a super funny guy, you know, he had me laughing.
She had had her first official date with David, and I remember her telling me about it and telling me how excited she was, and you could just see like the sparks flying from their whole exciting new romance and all that. And she truly was a romantic, I will tell you that. I remember how she was so excited because he picked a nice fancy bottle of red wine for them, and how exotic and a grown-up that was, that he did that at dinner for them, and she just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And he told her all about his travels and how just his amazing stories just that went so well with all of her amazing stories. So the two of them really did seem to just be matched so well.
I like to tell this story about my brothers because it's pretty funny. Whenever they started dating someone, they would wait a while to introduce them to me. And they would say, you know, I'm not really worried about you meeting my parents. I'm more worried about you meeting my sister.
My daughter Michelle, she's always very protective of her brothers. You know, she's always like, no girlfriend was ever kind of like, she always had like, well, I don't know about her. I'm not too sure about her.
I was pretty picky, and especially with David, because he's 8 years younger than I am. And, you know, I was always very mothering with him.
Oh, I didn't care. I already loved her. Michelle, you were outflanked. She was too perfect. I was gonna marry her. You know, she knew that there's no chance of her rejecting Jesse, because I just throw that. Sorry, Michelle. I love her.
And then I met Jesse, and you know, I remember after meeting her, David was like, "Well, what did you think?" And I just said, "You better not screw it up," which was just opposite of, you know, anyone else he had ever dated.
She started telling David, "You better watch it, boy. You better be good. I'm telling you, you got a good one. So it was all the way around, you know, because she was.
I remember my older brother saying she's a keeper.
Yeah.
And my mother said that too.
Yeah, everybody.
I just saw my sister's reaction after about 2 minutes of talking to her. And I'm like, yeah, she's got you too, huh, Michelle? You love her. Yeah, I know you do, you know? And they just hit it off. I just knew that was just another sign. That was just another sign, you know? I'm not the only one that feels this way around her, you know? She makes everybody feel great.
And truly, like, I think it was a humbling moment for me because I had a picture of what I wanted for my brother and, you know, and of who he was meant to be with. And then God showed me that she was so much more than what I had imagined.
Hola, abuelos de Honduras. Los quiero mucho.
So I had actually gone to Colombia to visit my parents for winter break, you know, which was a nice change of temperature. I gotta say, I didn't mind that. And I wanted her to come down there anyway because I knew she had traveled to the Dominican Republic, Uganda, Belize. She had gone on cruises and whatnot, and she loved to travel. She loved the experience. She was open to new cultures and loved the experience, and I always thought that she would enjoy it down there.
We wanted to pick her up, and we brought her to the apartment.
And she didn't feel well in Colombia. Everyone doesn't feel too well after, you know, when they first come to the tropics.
The girl had morning sickness like you wouldn't believe. And we had a 3-hour ride from the airport where we picked her up. God bless her. I don't know how she contained it.
And we had a doctor that I always went to. She made house calls. In this case, only in this case. We said, you know, Jessica, you know, David's girlfriend's here and she's feeling very poorly, and can you help? And so she would come up to the apartment, our doctor would, and take care of Jessica every day, and so it was so cool to be able to
But before that,
to attend to her.
David said, Mom, Jessica said she has something to tell me. You know what? I knew it. I just knew it. I just knew it.
She's like, we need to talk. And I'm like, oh, God. Well, if you were going to break up with me, you wouldn't have flown down here. So, okay. My mind starts kind of starting to figure out maybe which way this is going. And she said, we need to take a walk. And I said, is this walk going to change my life forever? And she just nodded her head and said, yes.
David said, Mom, come here. We want to tell you something. But I already knew it. She said, Mom, we're going to have a baby. And I'm like, yes! Yes! And I just hugged Jessica and David, and I was like, oh my goodness.
I remember her FaceTiming me, and she tricked me. She was like, I'm going to FaceTime you real quick. And so I was like, okay. She was like, how do you feel about flying up to Ohio and taking engagement photos? And I was like, sure. And then she goes, and how about maternity photos too? And I was like, what? So that's like how she told me she was pregnant.
She came back to Kent and she called us and she was like, hey, I need to talk to you guys. I need to come over. And I knew something was up. Like, I just knew it. And she told us, like, she was like, I'm pregnant. And we were like, you're gonna be amazing.
Yeah.
Like, you can do it. Like,
There was no like hesitation. It was just like, yeah, no, that makes sense.
Yeah, we're just like, yeah, okay, like, you got it. But I mean, she was just born to do it. Like, that's who she was.
I just remember being so excited because, you know, Elsa, my daughter, had a girl, and knowing how special that was, and I'm gonna start crying. Knowing how special that was and how excited we were for them.
They were so grounded and excited, and not at all their age. They just didn't seem their age. They were so mature. It's like they knew how special Lillia was gonna be.
I didn't feel fear till we were gonna go tell the Risingers. That's when I felt terrified.
Jess and Dave
were coming home from Columbia. Bob and I picked them up at the airport, and we were so excited to see them. We knew their plane was in, but it was taking them a really long time to come down the stairs.
We're coming down the escalators. We'd gone to the wrong escalator because the help center had basically, over the PA, asked if anybody speaks Spanish. They need assistance with someone who speaks Spanish. So I'm like, all right, this is a good way to get an extra 15 minutes here before we have to own up to the face of music, as they say.
We were like, oh my goodness, we just want to get home. But that is so like David, to just go ahead and offer his help wherever needed.
And as we're coming down that escalator by the kiosk, there's a balloon, and there's Pam, and there's Bob wearing this leather jacket. And I'm like, oh my Lord, here we go. And we didn't tell him right then and there. You know, Pam has an instinct that it's pretty impressive, that she can read minds.
In the car on our route to coming home, there was a lot of small talk, and I was like, there's something big here they want to tell us.
We're sitting in their living room, and basically Pam's like, come on, what's going on? Tell us. I know something's going on,
Okay, what's up? Like, you're either going to quit school and go down to Columbia and become a banana farmer, or you guys are going to just elope someplace and go get married, or you're having a baby. And so I gave them 3 choices, and they're like, well, yep, we're going to have a baby.
Bob, kind of processing it. I'm like in the corner going, oh my gosh, oh, what's gonna happen?
I knew Jessie always wanted to be a mom, so I was very happy for her. I was nervous too because of them being so young and knowing everything that was in front of them. But honestly, poor David was so nervous. He was just sweating bullets, and Jessie kind of took the lead there and was very strong and was like, yep, we're gonna have a baby, and we planned to have the baby, and they had already thought things out a little bit, so that was nice to see. But after the initial conversation and David being so nervous, there was lots of hugs.
And Bob took me downstairs to the basement. I'm like, this is it for me. This game over. It's over, And Bob basically said, welcome to the family. It was the warmest welcome I ever received. So yeah, long story short, it was terrifying, but worth everything, because their acceptance was the biggest gift they could have ever given us. We were forever grateful.
Well, hello, sweet girl. Are you
Lillia was just
today?
a perfect, she was perfect.
Yeah.
She would go to church, she would be saying peace be with you to people, she loved her baby animals, and she would be just so gentle and motherly with them. And you look back at having that time with her and missing what might have been, but realizing what a gift and what a blessing it was to have her in all that time.
The 3 years that my family got to have with Jessica and the 21 months with Lillia, I feel like God gave us a glimpse of heaven, And to see my brother David evolve so much, and to have, even if it was only for 3 years, to have experienced true love.
Jessie wanted to go back and finish school, and I was very supportive of that. I thought that she should really try to do that, just because she was so close to finishing. So we made that happen. I would bring her dinners down a couple times a week, and we were just very, very supportive of her. We knew that David was going to ask her to marry him at some point, but we didn't know exactly when.
My family knew, we all knew that was going to happen 100%. You just want to figure out when the right time to propose is. So it's special, you know. If we did it shortly after we found out, it would have, you know, it would have felt slightly forced, which would have not been the case, you know. But I wanted her to have this proposal. She deserved it. She deserved it.
So at some point, David concocted the plan to propose to Jessie at a gazebo by Kent State.
And my sister helped me out with this. We went to Trader Joe's, and there was a bunch of, we had flowers, and we had, you know, like sparkling water and stuff. Of course, she was pregnant, you know, and a bunch of snacks. I got a hold of my buddy Doug, and he was so kind, you know, he was so great in the sense that he was able to you know, to gather up the team quick, you know, and send a high alert, hey, our boy's proposing today, so everybody better drop what they're doing, and they definitely did.
David called me as he was driving to Kent to ask Jessie to marry her. And he's like, okay, I'm gonna ask Jessie to marry me tonight. And I'm like, what? Like, right now? Like, you know, it was like so like out of the blue. Yep, he said, I can't hold a secret. I got the ring. If I don't ask her now, I'm gonna blow it. So I'm like, okay, David, where are you at right now? And he's like, I'm drawing my drive to Kent. I'm like, okay, pull over. Please just pull over for a minute.
You want to talk about anxiety, is having a ring. You just want to give it to your wife immediately, or your fiance immediately, because it's like, I don't know how people keep secrets when they're gonna surprise somebody, but I can't. I cannot. It'll eat me alive.
And so then we talked a while, and I said, did you happen to ask Bob about this? He said, well, we've talked about it. I said, I think it would be really nice if you talked to Bob first. And he said, okay, put him on the phone. And I'm like, well, he's in Canada.
I was at a business dinner in Canada. So unfortunately, he couldn't ask me in person, but he had the whole engagement or proposal staged and ready to go. So he had to get hold of me.
He's like, okay, well, I'm gonna keep driving to Kent and have him call me. So I am frantically trying to get in touch with Bob.
I got multiple phone calls, so I'm like, okay, could be an emergency. So Pam gave me a heads up and said, if David's calling you, you need to answer the call. I'm like, okay, I guess. So David did call me, and I did answer, and I did give my blessing.
Meanwhile, I'm out there, and she took a little bit longer than usual, so I'm starting to shake because it's that cold, you know, and I'm like, I can't leave my position because the boys already have instructions to come basically across the bridge and out of the bushes and surprise her, you know. You know, I sent Doug a text message and saying now, right? And I'm like trying to time it off of him. And then I realized, oh, I don't know, I got to hug her or something. I need to, because they weren't showing up, right? So I'm like, oh boy, you know, because she was ready to go. She's like, okay, babe, it's so good. Do you want to head back? I'm like, I just want to hug you a little bit longer. So I'm holding on to her, and I'm looking like, where? Come on, guys, come on. This is a big moment. Don't do this to me right now. And I can hear feet shuffling. I'm like, okay, here comes the cue, you know? She kind of figured out. She's like, why are you being strange right now? And why are you dressed like this? You know, something's up. And, you know, friends roll out of the corner, and she says, what the heck? And then she said, stop it. And I'm like, wait, nope, we're not stopping. This is where it's happening. I'm going down on one knee. Right here's the moment.
I got a call at like 3 in the morning that was like, Jenny, we're spending the night at the Kent
Hotel.
The Kent Hotel. I need you to go break into my house and get all my stuff. I'm like, yeah. What? I knew Claire, but her other roommates, I'm like, I have no idea who they are, but okay. She's like, yeah, just like sneak in the back or something, not a big deal. So I snuck in and I like randomly put a bag together. And like, this is the night that they got engaged. It's 3 in the morning. I'm expecting to just like drop it off and then just like skedaddle out of there because this is their time. And they like sat me down and they told me the definition of love in every form. And just like for hours, they were like, this is how our story started. And like, imagine like our setup right now, but I'm Anne. And I'm sitting in the middle and like they're talking like this.
telling each other all about love, and then they'll like look at me and make sure that it's registering. I'm like, don't you guys kind of want to like celebrate? I'm like just sitting here like,
oh,
okay,
that's great.
Yeah,
that's really nice.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
It was so funny.
We had a C-section. She had a C-section, which, believe it or not, as a dad, kind of made the process pretty easy, in a sense. It was like, here's the appointment. Walk in, walk out with a baby. You know.
I think it was a summer because I was home and I remember going to the hospital and seeing Lillia and holding her and just being like, oh my gosh, you have no idea, little Lillia, what you're into now, this family. But yeah, it was so exciting to have that little nugget around here.
I had asked Pam to call me or text me and let me know when the baby was born. But I got too anxious, so I didn't wait. I drove up to the hospital. And I went up to the maternity floor, and I walked right back in the room, and I got to see Jesse and Lillia, and I guess I wasn't supposed to be able to do that, but for some reason I got to walk right by. Everyone happened to not be where they were supposed to be, and I got to walk right back in the room right after Lillia was born.
And all of a sudden it's like, what is Cindy doing here? How did she get back here? Of course, Cindy. Love her, you know. She'd find a way to get into the recovery room, which is before you get to your actual room. I mean, it's like next to the OR pretty much, you know. And I'm like, yes, leave it to Cindy to sneak in here. This is awesome.
And I came the week after she was born. And I stayed at their house, and it was just, I'm a very early riser. So I would get up like at 4 o'clock. I usually get up around 4:30 in the morning. So I would take the early shift, you know, and I was like, adoring that little girl, you know, just, such a beautiful little girl.
Lillia was almost the exact same measurements as Jessie was. So whenever Jessie would take Lillia in for her well checks, I would always check ahead. I would cheat and check ahead in Jessie's old baby's books. And when Jessie would come home and say, guess how much she would weigh? And I would say, I guess like 9'3". She goes, how do you know that? I'm like, that's exactly what you were.
Hey, Beck. Sorry I missed your call yesterday, but we're just sending you a message to say happy spring break.
Lillia was asleep, so I, just got to see her. But just seeing Jess, so immediately become a mom was, the most natural thing ever. One day you're pregnant, and the next day she is handling motherhood amazing already. And I just know that, that's why God put her on this earth. I just know, she always wanted to be a mom.
I know when I first became a mom, it was overwhelming. And she just seemed to embrace that role with such grace and courage and joy that to just see her with Lillia was, honestly, it just still gives me goosebumps because she just loved it so much. And it wasn't, that it wasn't a show. It was, you could just tell that she loved the daily grind of raising a child. She found joy in the littlest things, and she wasn't afraid to just think outside the box. She was comfortable letting Lillia explore.
A couple days before the wedding, we had flown up to Ohio. Liam was 3 years old, I think, so we were staying in the same hotel they were, and I was like, I want to meet the baby. She probably had a zillion wedding things to check off, but she made it a priority to come see us. I remember her lugging Lillia in the car seat, and she comes straight to our room. And my son, Liam, just lit up, as a 3-year-old. He was like, look at her little face. And I remember Lillia just beaming. I'm so glad I took a video of that moment because she was just the smiliest little smiley girl. And those cheeks and her face, I was like, oh my God, Jess.
Little monkey boy.
The first time I got to meet Lillia, she and David came in. It was my first time meeting David. And they put her on the scale, and she was this beautiful little baby, little auburn curls already. one of the prettiest babies I've ever seen, and I've seen a lot of babies. And I just remember we took them on into the room, and we said something nice about Lillia, and David just looked up and said, "Aren't my ladies beautiful?"
I remember being so grateful to Pam and Bob that the kids moved in with them a little bit before Lillia was born and then after, because I got to see them pretty much every day. And I just remember pulling into the driveway almost every day. At some point, Jess was outside with Lillia and doing something, digging in the dirt, coloring with chalk, doing bubbles.
From then on out, she had so much fun raising that little girl, and her and David together were just the best team raising her, and it showed because that little girl was amazing. She was just fiery and passionate and smart and fun.
It was like, for me, just an explosion of love. You know, yeah, it really was. You know, these two beautiful people created something so unbelievably beautiful. Lillia was magical.
That was another cool thing, was just like seeing Jessie just take this role of motherhood and just crushing it.
I feel like she's like my angel of motherhood, because I find in the moments where I feel like I can't do this anymore, she comes to mind. And she was so joyful as a mom, so patient. You could just see it in her body and her face how much she loved being Lillia's mom.
She was always, you know, when you saw her, biggest smile on her face, always able to find the positive and the joy in every day.
Jessie was, aside from my mom, Jessie was definitely the only one that Kelly trusted to watch both of her boys, even though she had Lillia too. Jessie, they had a, while short, very special relationship with her.
William just completely fell in love with her instantly because she was so, she was just warmth.
It was natural. It was natural, you know. I felt, my soul felt comforted immediately because I knew that I wouldn't have to worry about my child. You know, I knew that our child was going to have the best mother in the world.
My favorite thing about Lillia was that she called me. And my favorite thing about Jessie was that she did crazy dances. Did Jessie say to me, "I can drum"?
Uh-huh.
And the grandma called me Baba. Look at Manny.
Are you hugging, baby girl?
Before my brothers and I had a real appreciation for the farm, David always felt completely at home here. I remember him saying that Lillia, when they would come back from Cleveland, you know, and they would make a turn somewhere on their way back, she would say home. Like, she would know that they were close to the farm. And Jessie was definitely an outdoors adventurer, and she appreciated nature. So she and David, you know, definitely gave that to Lillia. It was just natural for her.
And I was jealous. I was like, that's such a cool life. I'm so happy for Lillia. And she didn't see these animals from TV or books, but she was like seeing them in real life. You know, normal little girls say a horse is like neigh, but Lillia would be like, you know, she like knew like the real sounds they were making, and she was able to like remember a lot of these sounds and repeat them, you know, the duck noises, you know, the kitty cats, the birds, and yeah, Lillia was something special for sure.
You could tell when she was really thinking, because Lillia would like blink, 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 and look at it, you know, and you're as a parent, you're just always trying to guess what are they thinking, you know, what is this little toddler baby thinking, you know? And she's like, serious? And I'm looking down, and I'm like, what is it? I guess there's a couple bugs there, like a ladybug or something like that, or a Japanese beetle. And she's like, looks at it, dupity. Literally, it was like, that is a dupity. And she was so confident. She's like, yep, dupity. And I'm like, little girl, okay, I suppose it's a dupity. Okay, bug, no, dupity.
For a swim with me. Look, they're gonna go for a swim in the water. What's that?
One of the most memorable days, let me say that word again, memorable days that I've ever had with David and Jess and Lillia was their wedding day.
Jessie wasn't nervous the whole morning, but she started to, like, as we got back to the house and, like, they were all ready, so all they had to do now was, like, sit around and wait. So then she started to get a little, you know, like, I'm kind of nervous. So that's when I think I put the music on. I can't remember if it was my phone or whose phone it was, but I was like, let's dance. And so I just put music on, and she was just, that helped instantly. It's like she didn't need anything else but a dance party. And I wish that video had gone on longer because we had so much fun.
I just remember being really excited and happy, and I remember sitting with Lillia in like one of the little back rooms of the church, kind of making funny faces at her and getting her kind of excited and trying to make her giggle because she was so tiny at that point.
I remember Uncle Bob forgetting the veil, or she needed the veil because she was getting her hair done and they wanted to like place it for her. I don't know, but I remember Bob coming in with a giant Cleveland Indians jacket and he's like, I've got the veil. And he tells me he doesn't even like remember that, but I have a photo. So I'm like, I have a photo, Bob, so it happened.
The first look, at first it was kind of funny because her and I kind of talked about how funny that kind of was. So initially I'm like, you know, it was a thing, you know, you got to do the first look. So we're like, babe, I guess we're going to have to do our first looks, you know. And I can still feel her hand on my shoulder, you know. And it was perfect. It was magical, you know. It was magical because you felt like, wow, this is the beginning of this journey.
What really touched me is that a week before the wedding, you know, Jessica called me and she said, you know, BJ, I want you to be a part of the wedding. And she wanted me to speak at the wedding, so I actually read at the wedding, and that really touched me that she really involved me, you know, in the wedding because she knew how big of a part of, you know, David's life I was in, you know. So that really was touching that she respected our relationship that much, you know.
I had the privilege of holding Lillia, you know, through walking her down the aisle and holding her through the whole ceremony. I didn't want to let her go. I didn't want anyone else to hold her. But she did get heavy, so I gave her to my aunt in the row behind me. But
I just remember she was up and about the whole time, visiting with people, smiling, laughing. I mean, the whole time she was just.
I think we waited in line to give her a hug.
Yeah.
Because everyone was just like obsessing over her.
Yeah. I had just had Christian, my son, so I wasn't able to be at the wedding, but I saw pictures and they baptized Lillia on the same day as their wedding. And David, we all kind of laughed because he was like in The Lion King when they present Simba. He just like picked Lillia up and, you know, presented her to the world, and he was so proud, and it was a magical time. It was a perfect time capsule.
You know, it's ridiculous. Things that dads do when you don't really think it through because you think it's a good idea, you know, and it's probably silly, you know. But I'm at Tractor Supply, and every time you go to Tractor Supply, if you've ever been there, you know, usually in the springtime, there's always the baby ducks and the baby pullets and the baby hens and chicks and all this other stuff. I was specifically sent to town to get cough medicine for my wife because she wasn't feeling good. Well, I forgot that cough medicine because I had found cute duckies instead. But God bless, she really loved me because that's one example of she could have just hit me across the head. Be like, what are you thinking, David?
David brought home some baby ducks, and so they put this little kiddie pool in the family room, and they filled it with water, and Lillia was splashing in the water, and they were putting the baby ducks in, and the baby ducks were all swimming around.
She was so happy with those duckies, you know. It was like, oh my
Who would
gosh.
have thought, you know? It's like he comes in with these ducks, and I said, what are you doing?
The dog was in the video, and Jessie was in the video, and you could hear their voices, and just see how much they loved life and how they embraced the beauty of all of God's blessings.
So there was one small one. Most of them were big, but there was one little one, and the smallest one, the youngest one, was Lilia's favorite.
I believe Lillia stepped on one of them. And the little guy wasn't doing too well for quite some time. We called him Duckless, you know, because he would always fall on his back. He was kind of disabled, you know. That's the duck that she had as her pet in Chagrin Falls, because we had the poor thing would be on its back, and we're like, well, I guess we gotta tend to this animal at all times, even when we're up here.
They fly north, and most of them went to heaven. The little one went to heaven, but that's good. Since they went to heaven really quickly, now they're with Lillia and Jessie. So yeah, I bet they're really happy that they can still be, that they'll be with their ducks forever and ever.
Lillia, what is it? Quack, quack, quack.
The one thing that stands out the most about my niece is how she loved to share. One of the last memories that I have was, so before they went to Florida, they flew down to New Orleans to come visit me because I was going to school down there, and they were staying at this hotel with a pool close to where I was living, and we were swimming in the swimming pool, and Jessie went and got Lily a glass of water. And Lily was hanging out with me, and Jessie gave her the glass of water, and then Lily immediately gives it to me, as to say, drink, and then I'll drink. So I took a sip, and then she took it from me and had a bunch of gulps, and then she gave it back to me. It's like, come on, go ahead. And I took a couple sips, and she grabbed it and gave it back to me. And this happened like 4 or 5 times. And it was just so telling of her spirit. And she always shared, you know, like with all my little cousins, but that was like such a crucial moment, you know, for me, because it's just like something as simple as a glass of water. She was basically saying, no, Mom, I'm going to share it with Uncle Brian, okay? This isn't all for me. And I think it stems from, you know, my brother also has such a kind soul, and so much of Lillia came from him too. David's one of the kindest people I've ever met in my entire life, which is why he was such a good match for Jessie. But I feel like that particular trait was just a combination of Jessie and David. But that's one of the last memories I have of Lillia, of her just, nope, I'm not going to have this all by myself. We are going to share this glass of water, sir.
She was a good baby. She caught on fast, and she liked dogs too, which a lot of kids don't like dogs, but she did.
Lillia, we had 3 dogs, and she was not scared of them at all. At all. She loved to play with them.
She was always very adventurous, even for just being like 1 or 2 years old. She reminded me a lot of, you know, Jess and David, in the sense that they were super outgoing.
She loves to adventure. We're both curious. We both really are curious. And yeah, all 3 of us are curious. Jessie, Lillia, and me. Yeah. We were all curious. about things. Lillia and Jesse, they were kind of like the same things. Everything was in common with them. Those two, yeah.
How about Uncle David?
He mostly has everything in common too.
Like they're all a tight family, huh?
Yeah.
Chief says.
You know, I think another thing too that's surprising to me is that I know she was a note writer. Like, she used to leave us notes all the time. Really cool notes everywhere. But now I'm seeing that other people are actually sending me notes that they find that Jesse has sent them, that they still have them, you know. You know, they've been passed now for over 2 years, and there's still people finding notes that she left them that at that time meant so much to them that they kept it, and that to find it again at this time lifts them up again.
In this bedroom, there's a real tall bed. And of course, I'm a little bit, with my hip problem I've had, I'm a little bit hard to get up on the bed to kind of dress and things, so I pulled this thing out. Behind it was this, like stuck in here.
This is from Jessica. It was when we did her baby shower, and it's her thank you card. He found it this morning, I mean, you know, in that chair, and he just happened to put it, he never pulls that out.
I was reading the questions and so forth, and it was like, I don't know whether I could stick to any script, and I really don't know what I want to say, and then that came out.
This was a note she sent to Lauren, that Jess sent to Lauren after Lauren's dreams were to play volleyball, you know, at D1 school, and those dreams kind of were shattered, and she ended up leaving the school where she had her scholarship and coming back home and going to Ohio State. And so that's just a little preface to what she wrote. So Jess wrote, I don't know if I'm going to get through this. Lauren, I'm happy to know that you, when faced with a difficult decision, you were able to set aside all the pressure and expectations and make the right decision for yourself. I am also very happy that you will be closer to me. Everything happens for a reason. And I know God has great plans for you. He just couldn't keep us apart any longer. I know you will do great at OSU. I know what you are going through is tough, but keep your chin up, beautiful girl. If you ever need me, give me a ring. I love you, Rotini. I love you, Rotini. And that's what she called Lauren, because she had curly hair.
When she found out I was pregnant with Livy, she was like, you're going to be a girl mom. And she sent me a care package. And because Livy made me more nauseous than Liam, so I still have this little box of tea. It's like ginger tea for nausea. And she wrote a cute little note on it. So I don't even really drink tea, but I save, you know, it's never going to leave my cabinet just because of her handwriting is so signature.
I lived in New Orleans for 12 years, and so I would try to, you know, when they started dating, and then more so when they got married, and, you know, Lillia came about, I tried to come up as much as possible. So she would always, every time we got together, she would always like make sure it was quite the event. And one of the things I brought here with me, which is a true testament of her character, of how special she was and how considerate she was of other people and other people's time. So when I turned 28 back in 2016, Jessie was very much pregnant. In fact, actually, she had Lillia about 3 weeks later, and she made a party for me. I came up that summer. My birthday's on August 1st. Lillia's birthday is August 20th. And here's her writing. And it was just, she had posted it up on the house. She made a very special birthday for me. And, you know, we're a close family. But usually, like, you know, birthdays were like, okay, because my parents, you know, lived abroad and I was in New Orleans and all this. So our presents for each other were just our company. And Jessie was like that too, but she always made it a special event. So she actually threw a full-blown birthday party for me while she was very much pregnant with Lillia. And this is one of the signs that I saved, and that's a bag where she had gotten me a gift. And it says here, happy 28th birthday, Brian. Hope you enjoyed your birthday here on the farm as much as we enjoyed having you. Another year cooler, 28. Love you, Brian. So that was a really cool birthday. Actually, I hadn't had a birthday that cool in a very long time. I wanted to keep this because it's just a reminder of who she was, and no matter what she was going through and how demanding her own life was, like, she still had so much room for everyone else.
My freshman year of college, the guy I was dating and I broke up temporarily for like a week, and I was like really heartbroken, really upset. Jess had called me and she was like, what are you doing this weekend? Just wanted to like check in on you, like see how you're doing, see if you have any like fun plans for the weekend. And was just talking to her and she was like, actually I sent you something and it said that it got delivered to your dorm. Did you get it? And I was like, no, what are you talking about? And she was like, yeah, I sent it. Maybe go check the door or something. Like, I don't know if maybe they didn't get the right, maybe I didn't put the right address or something. I don't know, but would you just go check by the door? And I was like, yeah. So I walk outside and I'm looking around and I'm like on the phone with her and I'm like, Jess, I don't see anything here. Are you sure you sent it to the right address? And then she pops out from behind the corner and she was like, it's me, I'm here. And she came to surprise me and visit me for the weekend because she knew that I was going through a hard time and she was just there for me.
Not even a year after she passed away, I went and got this, and because it's in such a visual spot, people ask me all the time about it. They say, well, why'd you pick those two words? And it's just because that's what she did.
The last time I actually was with Jess and Lillia was the year that they passed in March. I had my spring break and I spent it up in Cleveland, and one whole day I just went and I spent the day with them and not even knowing that that was going to be the last time I spent with them, but picked up donuts and brought donuts over and we had donuts and coffee and it was just the three of us and we just laughed the entire time. Lillia was singing, we were singing La Bamba with her, and she was singing one of those microphones that echoes, and just I have these two random pictures that I will keep forever that Lillia got a hold of my phone and took selfies of herself, and she has a hat on and a scarf on, and she has this microphone. But it's just joy with either of them, whether you're with Jess or Lillia. They had that same it was just deep down inside of them. It's something you can't teach. It's just who you are. And I know that Jess was that way because of her mom. And, it just goes down the family line. They're just joyous and really brought anyone who was by them was brought to that same light.
What are we going to watch on TV? What kind of ball? Basketball?
What was on TV?
So we still have two little butterflies stuck out by our mailbox that are little cheapy things I got at Home Depot, but just to kind of, in memory of them, because we're right on the main street that Jess used to walk Lillia every single day, every day. Really good distances, not a little tiny baby walk, but good distances, pointing everything out to her. So we planted things, and I would sometimes put things out in that little front area by my mailbox that I thought they might like to look at. So we have two little butterflies, and they're getting kind of faded now, but they'll stay there.
Daily something happens, that makes you think of them, or you see, it could be a butterfly, it could be driving by a lily field. It could just be the simple things, and they come to mind. So that's a gift they left us all with.
At the hotel, while we were in Tampa, I would go down in the morning and get a cup of coffee in the lobby area. And one morning, there was a bird that had gotten into the hotel, strangely enough, and it came and landed in front of me. Several days later, Pam and Katie and I had lunch on the sidewalk patio at Starbucks right next to the hotel. And Katie and Pam sat at a two-person table, and I sat across, kind of next to them at a two-person table, and a bird came up and landed on the table across from me.
The other day, I was just honestly nesting this baby. I'm just in my house cleaning all the time because I'm it could come in any second. And one thing that Jess said from I think the moment I started dating my now husband was, when are you gonna have babies? Oh my gosh. And then when Lillia came, she was like, Lillia needs a buddy, you need to have babies. And she said it all the time because she knew Kevin and I were like 100% on board, and now we're having a baby next week. And I'm bummed that I don't get to share this experience with her, just because I just feel like she would have been, you know, vocal and there for me and 100% supportive this entire way. And her not being here and being able to be like, finally we did it, Jess, see, like, that it hit me a little hard in the beginning. I was just kind of like bummed that I couldn't share this with her. And so the other day, nesting hard in the house, cleaning everything, and I look out the back window and there's the most vivid, crystal clear double rainbow, like dead centered in our backyard. Like, looked like it was literally just there for our viewing, and that was it. And it was the most spectacular rainbow I've ever seen. And I just felt like it was so vivid that I literally felt like we were having a conversation. Like, she was just like, hey, you know, we're here for you, this is exciting, you're gonna do great, like giving me that kind of support that I know she'd be saying to my face if she was here. And it was just, it was so cool. I mean, you see rainbows and you're like, oh, she's here to say hi, but something about the vividness and like the impact of that one, it felt like she was really just having a conversation with me.
When we got back, finally got back to Ohio, for the first time in the 20 years that we've lived on Darby's Run, there was a mama and baby bird in a nest in our neighbor, across the street neighbor's paper box that faces directly our house.
After she passed away, I just remember being so angry at God, not understanding how something like this could happen. Honestly, my faith, like, it was very, very shaky. And there was one night that I was driving home from work. I'll never forget this. I was driving home from work, and I was stopped. There was a traffic jam, and there was a semi in front of me, and I look up, and on the semi, this blew my mind. It basically said Reisinger. It said her last name. It wasn't quite spelled the same. It was one letter off, but it said Reisinger, and it said John 3:16 right under it. I honestly had to do a double take. Because John 3:16 is, for God so loved the world that he gave his one and only son, that whoever believes in him shall not perish but have eternal life. And I think it was that night, or it was maybe a few nights later, I had a dream that Jess and Lillia were both dancing, and they were just so joyous. And I think Jess even did a cartwheel or something. But I woke up, and I have never been so sure of my faith. I've never been so sure that there's a heaven and that they are there and that I'll see them one day.
The day of the crash, Tommy and Pam were working at the lake house. And our first trip back to the lake house, Tommy, Pam, and I went out to dinner, and when we came back to the lake house, there was a huge double rainbow over our lake house and over our lake. So we're convinced that she's sending us signs through rainbows.
The science behind rainbows is there has to be such pristine and such certain factors for a rainbow to even occur. And rainbows are so unique. And here we are in this one summer after they passed away, and any other summer, I never had seen that many rainbows in my life. The amount I saw those 2 or 3 months outnumbered any that I had seen in my whole life.
I really don't remember seeing, personally, I don't remember seeing very many double rainbows in my life, but I see double rainbows all the time now. And it tends to happen when we're with David. We were at my grandma's house right here next door, and we were all outside, and it had just stopped raining, and you know, there was a huge double rainbow right in front of the field, and David was there, and he was leaving, and he was at the bottom of the hill, and he just yelled, "Double rainbow!" You know, and we're all like, "Yay, we see it!" And William was out there too, and I remember going on a 10-mile walk with David. I don't know what we were thinking. This was probably a couple months after the girls had passed, and it was kind of an emotional walk, and then it just started to downpour on us, and we were just, you know, hugging each other really tight and walking, and then it cleared, and there was 2 giant double rainbows on our walk back.
I just know that they're in heaven, and that when we get there, like, it's just going to be a joyous occasion. And I just feel like that rainbow is God's promise to us, but also, like, I think it's Jess just checking in on us. And not only just the rainbows we saw, the double rainbows we saw. And it was Jess and Lillia every time. And it made me realize, like, 2 huge things. One, just that, like, you can't avoid rainstorms in your life. And I don't think I really knew that much until this happened. This was like one of the biggest tragic things that happened in my life. And up until then, I felt like I had a positive outlook on life. Then I realized, wow, like, terrible things are gonna happen. Like, you know, I'm gonna have hardships in this life, and it's more about, like, looking for the rainbows when you're in the middle of those rainstorms.
We moved to Florida about a month ago, and that was something that Joel and I have been talking about doing for years. And it was something that Jess was super supportive of, and that's something she was great about, is just dreaming of great, exciting futures. And we would dream about them together, and she would always come up with all these different places that we would go, and she would tell me, oh, David and I might move to Pensacola maybe, and maybe since you and Joel are gonna move to Florida, we'll all have Thanksgiving together one year. More than anything, she was so supportive of the idea, and if I said I was gonna do something, she would go, okay, so next year it's gonna be this, and you're gonna do that, and it's gonna be so great. And so we finally did it. We moved to Florida this last month, and that's been wonderful, and we've been loving it, but at the same time, you know, with any great, exciting thing, there can be bad days. And so I was having one of those days where just things weren't going well. And I got home and I was kind of bummed out. It just hadn't been a good day. And I told Joel, I was like, oh, can we go to the beach? I just want to go to the beach. And it had been kind of gray that day, but we went anyways. And as we walked up, we set up our little beach chairs and everything, and we were sitting, and the clouds kind of started to part and things started to clear up, and this beautiful, beautiful rainbow shows up. And it was just kind of this affirmation of, hey, I see you, and I'm so proud of you for being here, and I know you had a bad day, but I don't know, I just kind of took it as her being there and showing me that even though it was a bad day, she was proud of us for finally making it down here and for finally getting to do the thing we've talked about for so long.
Just the rainbow, I think, is the perfect representation of Jess too. The brightening, like a dark gray clouds, dark gray sky, and in life, if you're having bad days, she brightened it up. She added color in, and I think she knew exactly what she was doing, or God knew exactly what he was doing when we saw rainbows time after time. My sisters came up for the funeral from Columbus, and the day that when they were driving home from the funeral, a huge double rainbow across 71 driving down back to Columbus. There was that summer, you know, there was days that were just really rough and really hard, and I tell you, every single time it was like a rainy day, and I would look out and I would see a rainbow, and it was just like that comforting, like they're not in pain, they're okay, you know, they're watching over us now. And then that same summer, Casey Musgraves came out with like my favorite song ever now, called Rainbow. That was all about like that you've always had a rainbow over your head, you just had to look up. And I don't know, it just helps me be more optimistic about things in life now of, yeah, I'm gonna have hardships, you're gonna have tough things to go through, but like your loved ones are gonna give you signs, and you just have to keep your head up. You know, you have to keep your head up, because you would miss the rainbows if you didn't go through the storm and if you didn't try to look up.
Jessie always treated people with an intense amount of love, and she really embodied the Bible verse, "Let all that you do be done in love." I think those that knew a piece of Jessie, either in a really big way or even just a brief way, can use her memory and her love as we all move forward.
The day that she passed away, I was actually auditioning for a part to be a cheerleader in this commercial. And I found out about it right before my in-person audition. It was just the hardest audition I've ever had to do in my entire life because it was exactly the opposite of everything I was feeling. But I remember sitting in that waiting room waiting for my audition and just thinking, you know, that is who Jess was. Jess was a cheerleader. She was that for so many people. She just had a way of making people feel heard and loved and just an enthusiasm for life. Yeah, that's what I'm going to strive to be. I'm going to strive to be more of that and to sing more and dance more and laugh more. Like, I'll never forget her laugh.
I've never seen someone live life so beautifully. So beautifully. And some people may be envious of people who can live life so happily, but it was just real. She appreciated dandelions. She appreciated butterflies. She appreciated songbirds. She appreciated running streams of water. I mean, the small things in life were in fact the big things in life. And I could proudly say that I do see things different in that sense. I enjoy nature more. I enjoy birds more. Cardinals. When I see a cardinal, I'm excited because I think of her. When I see flowers or dupities, you know, it's a different. I have a different set of lenses. It's because of her, and you know, she taught me a lot in that short amount of time. I mean, she taught me a lifetime's worth of lessons in our what I would consider a very short time together.
The one quote I always feel like reminds me of Jess so much is that one quote that's about like, stay close to people who feel like sunshine, or it's something of that manner. And that's who I felt like Jess and Lillia were, that you just wanted to be by them because they made the dark days brighter. They made you laugh in whatever situation. Jess was always looking to the bright side, the positive side of things.
She radiated positivity and sincerity like everywhere she went, more than anyone else I've ever met. And instantly you notice it, like any proximity, you're 2 feet from her and she's just like radiating this, and you can't not absorb it. You know what I mean? So like you're near her absorbing her light just because she's shining so bright. And like the impact, you know, you get so used to that light that like when it goes out, it kind of just left like this grayness or like this darkness that, you know, at first you were upset that it was dark, right? But she left you with this like want to just shed that light yourself and like become your own light and, you know, brighten other people's lives. And you're like, okay, she's not here to just have that incredible, you know, radiation, like positivity right now. Like, how can I help to kind of pick up that slack? And none of us are like as good as she was at it, but you know, she motivated you to want to do that. So, you know, losing her made me want to be brighter and kinder and, you know, sincere and be happy, radiate it all the time.
I try to use Jessie's positivity as I face challenges or downfalls in my own life. She had a really amazing way of showing our friend group the bright side to everything.
Yeah, it definitely changed me to love each day more and more, and don't waste it. You know, really don't waste any, because that's how she lived. She lived day by day, and she, in all the little things, she saw good things, you know. She always saw the best.
Even before Jessie passed away, I was talking to our father up at the church about, you know, different things that just moms worry about. And Father Dan had told me at one point, You know, when you worry about these things, you're technically telling God he's not doing his job, because you need to trust that everything is in his hands. So after losing Jessie, I was not wanting to give up that trust in God. You know, I wanted to hold on to that. So with that, you say that God's got this, you know, and it might not have been in my plans, but it was in his will for some reason. So how does that impact you going forward? You know, you think of the love Jessie shared every day and the carefreeness. And so you try to mimic that, and you try to do things like, did I get it? Did I get it right, Jess? Trying to go out of your way to be kind to people and not worried about being so rushed in every moment, but taking time to really care for people and care for things that are going on around you, opposed to your busy schedule all the time.
And enjoy the good things about it, the little laughters, the silly daily things, and to just appreciate where you are today with your family and to treasure that. I was very guilty of talking about when somebody graduates, when somebody gets married, when somebody has a kid, and realizing that, you know, you got to kind of focus on today and what's happening right in front of you.
Make sure everybody knows that they are worth something, they matter in this life, and that you know, live each day because, you know, with pride and with love, because that's what, you know, that's what you have. You've been given this day. Make it a best day.
There's an expression in Spanish, kind of pertinent, really, because it says, "Hay más tiempo que vida," you know, which means there's more time than there is life. You know, so when we think we don't have time, or we don't have money to do this or that, or make more visits home, or even change careers to get closer to your family, we're governed by these things of use our time in the most financially responsible way, or whatever, you know what I mean, you know. But the expression addresses that, you know, when you say that, you know, I don't have time to do this or that, and the expression is, you know, there's more time than there is life, you know. Hay más tiempo que vida.
It makes you want to say the things you need to say and say them now. Don't waste time. And it's amazing because I look at how much my family loves her and how affected they are for the better. Like, she truly, truly changed us as a family, changed us as individuals.
Mona mona. What do you call them?
Mono.
Mono mono. So is it an orange or a mono? An orange.
This poem was written by an author named Marianne Baum, and this is where I hear Jessie's voice speaking to all of us. Make moments count. Make a difference. Make the call. Make priorities. Make the time. Make your gifts known. Make a nobody feel like somebody.
My wife and I were able to attend the Life Bank Gift of Life Walk Run event in August 17th of 2019. And we were so taken by the event. But for me to meet David, who I never met before, and to hug him and to hold him and let him know how much we loved and cared for Jessica, meant a lot to me. Really did. We'd like to get back to Cleveland and participate in another one of the wonderful Walk for Life events. It's such amazing things that the outfit has done, yet, and Jessica and Lillia, how they've contributed themselves literally to
Life Bank,
extending another one's life. It's just, it's incredible. Mm-hmm. So when the course is long and the heroes go farther, for us, Jess and Lillia certainly went the distance.
Tim just was talking to David, said, you know, we never would have been probably part of anything like this. We didn't pursue it. It's not that, we didn't know about it, but, until you're involved in it personally, then you sort of expand your horizons and think, how can I help and do some good.
So I think the thing that I learned from Pam and Bob is like the amazing resilience that they've just shared. Like, they've just been so positive, and they obviously don't forget the past and they miss her, but they were like, seeing them be able to move on from that tells me I can move on from challenges, just about anything. I mean, if you can go on in life and be positive after suffering such a loss, I mean, I just think they're amazing. Pam and Bob are like my idols in that regard. And I respect them. I always did, but I respect them at a whole nother level that it's just immeasurable.
What I often think about is the the relationship that Jesse and David had. Because David's still here. I like to talk to David a lot, and I remember he said something telling me that even to this day he falls in love with Jessica every single day a little bit more, and I think about that a lot in the sense that. How do you, even though someone's just like a memory, how do we still stay close to her, even though she's still not here with us? And I think through that, I think of David and staying close to David. So I think he's one of the best people ever.
And she left Dave here too, so that's a great gift to the world.
Yeah, and David is a gift. He's here for a reason.
Hearing David talk about her and Lillia and just the way he interacts with the world too. I'm like, yeah, Jess, you picked a good one.
When we were roommates and stuff, I always saw how positive she was all the time. And even if I was going through a rough time, I would, just kind of strive to be like her, always taking the good out of situations and, being including and kind. So I think just like her personality and who she was as a person, just really, it's like she's like the type of person you want to strive to be like.
One of the things that she said, enjoy the small things in life. It's one of the things that she really lived by, and that's something I really didn't do. I'm like I'm a workaholic at times, and I forget how blessed I am. So a lot of things I already do, I'm very grateful for the things I do have, and I try to live every day and appreciate the things I do have.
So I tend to be, I would say, a much more type A person than Jess, and I don't think anybody would say that I've got the sunshine natural to me that just came out of her, just automatically. But sometimes if something is bothering me, I think, my gosh, a kid who was literally half my age, had it figured out. And so there are just times it kind of gives me a different perspective, just that she really, even at a really young age, saw the big picture and just was optimistic. And I think that's such a beautiful trait to have in a person. And I think, the world lost two really, truly beautiful people. And if I can keep any of that alive in me, I will.
I think after what our family has been through, I've realized too that, you never know what somebody else is going through. And she did that anyway before, anything like that ever happened. She always just was kind to every stranger she met, to everyone in the grocery lines. In front of her, she would talk. She would make friends at Bed Bath & Beyond.
Jess taught me how to be a better person. She always brought out better sides of me and just showed me how to be the best possible version of myself, because she was always the best possible version of herself. And that positivity and that lightness that she had, she made everybody else around her more positive and more light and bright, and she just made life more fun. And so moving forward, that's something that I've tried really hard to keep and to embody and think about each day, is just how would she look at this situation in life, and how would she move forward this? And if we were to talk and get a chance to, reflect on the things going on in my life today, what positive thought and what amazing affirmation would she give me to make it seem so much better?
Be kind to everybody and make sure everyone you meet in life knows that they can count on you, or know that they have a friend in you. I think that's really important, and something that Jess taught me that I will carry with me for the rest of my life.
Keep cultivating and better cultivate, and actually I'm trying to rekindle some of my relationships that I've had, and because I see the importance now of the impact that Jess made on her friends.
She's impacted me as a mother. She loved to read to Lillia. That was always a big thing. She'd have books and books stacked high. So even on my hardest, most exhausting days, I ask the kids what they want to read, no matter, if I have an inkling left in me of whatever day it's been, books will always be read in our family. And I always liked them before, but even more so seeing the way she was with Lillia.
The last time that they came to visit us, they came for Christian's baptism. And Jessie, for gifts, she would usually always include a book. And the last gift that my kids got from her was a children's Bible, which, was a perfect gift. In retrospect, looking at it now, I realize that, it was kind of a way of her reminding us how important it was for God to be central to our lives, regardless of what might come. There are so many challenging stories in the Bible of people overcoming and personal pain to follow God. Now I realize that I don't think that it was by accident, that she gave us these gifts. Whether, she knew it or not, she was certainly leaving even a more lasting impact on my kids, because they're going to learn about God through the Bible that she gave them.
Tell people how you feel about them and really verbalize how much you love them and how much you care about them. Because that's what I remember from her. From the second I met her, she was like, I like you, we need to be friends.
I mean, when she was here, just looking up to her, like I said before, just that authenticity and genuine spirit that drew me in. I just want to be that for other people. Like, I want to be that type of friend, that type of person in this world.
Yeah, I'll never be the same person again, and for the better. I've been inspired in so many ways by both of them, and I can only hope for the day that we're all together again.
I think God works in some strange ways. So took somebody so amazing away physically from this earth, but the love and amazing things she left here is still spreading. And I think she'd be happy to know that.
Thank you everyone for coming. We had so much fun. Babe, I love you. I'm so happy to be married to you. And Mrs. Robinold.
I love you guys so much for coming. I love her. Thank you so much for showing us the kindness of coming to celebrate our future and our start of our family. And we couldn't be more excited, and we couldn't be more prepared than we are today. And today has been a reminder that we have unconditional support, and we thank you for that. We're going to continue to do our best as a family and make you proud. And hopefully 25, 30 years down the road, you guys will remember this day, and we'll talk about the good times, and we'll see you then. Thank you so much. God bless you, and have a good night.
Jesse's tree. That's the only thing. When I think about Aunt Jessie and Lillia, when I'm at the farm, I just look at that tree.
What's this tree?
Her berry tree.
Oh, the berries tree?
Yeah, that's my favorite part, and that's the part I mostly know about.
That's cool.
We like to pick berries and play around it.
Are raspberries like your favorite kind of food? Like your favorite fruit? Or were they just good because you guys picked them?
Raspberries, well, the only ones that I like the most, my favorite fruit ever are the blackberries and the raspberries that grow off that tree. Those are the only raspberries I like the most, and the best fruit ever. Those are the best fruits because it's from Aunt Jessie's tree. That's the most important thing on the farm to me.
For all of you that are watching the tribute film for Jess and Lillia, for those of you especially near and far that didn't have a chance to participate, I want to say thanks to all our friends and family that have supported us for the last 3 years. For those of you that did participate and did get to interview, I believe there were 55 or 60 of you that participated. Thank you very much for helping tell the story of Jess and Lillia. And I want to give special thanks to David for having the vision to create and preserve these memories and to be able to tell the Jess and Lillia story, not only today, but for a long time to come. And one more big thank you to Andrea and Tim, the best wedding videographers that I know, Barefoot Films, for putting this all together, spending the past year journeying with us on this project. It was wonderful to work with them, and I think they would do a great job if you're looking for a wedding videographer. Thank you.